Hey everybody, welcome to the show. This is Daily Drop number 5. I'm your host Bobby Capucci, and we're about to take another look at Mr. Epstein and all of his friends that surround him and protect him. So, on the long show yesterday, we got into some more with Mr. Wexner and the Maria Farmer situation and those allegations, and that's a deep rabbit hole. That one's going to keep going, and we're going to get back to more on that when we have more information. It's pretty apparent to me what's been going on with Mr. Epstein, and obviously Mr. Wexner is deeply involved with all of that. His excuse that they broke off their business partnership because Epstein stole from him, that dog doesn't hunt with me. We don't have any sort of record of that happening, and even if we do have a record of that happening, who's to say that that record hasn't been falsified? We're talking about people with a lot of power here, people with a lot of money, and if they're guilty of the things they're accused of, then I highly doubt they have any problem forging some documents. So, Mr. Wexner, his wife, the security staff that was on duty that night, the police that took her Miss Farmer's report, the FBI agents that took her report, all of those people need to be asked questions, and we need answers, because we're not getting any of that. All we're getting is more BS, more darkness, really. It's pretty depressing when you see all these articles popping up, and you'll see the news start trickling through about certain things in this case, and you know that if it was somebody else, that they would be going crazy right now. If they felt like they could hurt political opponents, the mainstream media, the legacy media, would be going absolutely bananas over all of this. So we talked about Mr. Wexner yesterday, and today we got some news about our good buddy Prince Andrew. So we have a Vanity Fair article here that I'm going to start with, and this article is, I guess you could take it a couple of ways. You could take it as their running cover for Prince Andrew, or you could take it as they're not buying it like we're not buying it. I'm sure none of you are going to buy it either once I read it to you. So we'll take it from the top. I'll read through the article. It's not very long, and then we'll talk about it a little bit as we're doing it and afterwards. So this article is by Vanity Fair, and it says, according to the experts in etiquette at the Emily Post Institute, a breakup should be done in person. If distance makes it impossible, a phone call might suffice, but never, ever a voicemail, text message, or email. It remains unclear, however, what is proper when you're trying to end a friendship with someone who has pleaded guilty and served time for soliciting a minor for prostitution, and whose friendship has become controversial not just for you, but for your entire royal family. Or maybe the rules are just different when you're not a real friend, just a trophy friend. That's what a source close to Prince Andrew is trying to claim, telling the Sunday Times that the prince traveled to New York City in December 2010 to actually end his friendship with disgraced financier. Well, pause, stop. Why do they keep saying this in these articles, disgraced financier? How about you just label him what he is? Disgraced a sex trafficker and child abuser. The article continues, his relationship with Epstein dated back to the 90s, and it wasn't until after Epstein died by suicide in August. They should add apparently to that. Anyway, continuing on, that Andrew publicly criticized any of Epstein's untoward or illegal behavior. How about just monstrous behavior? Reports the Times in 2011 testimony, however, one of Epstein's accusers, Virginia Roberts Joffrey, claimed that Andrew knows the truth about Epstein's abuse of underage girls. The Times source has an explanation for this. The prince might have not been exposed to the true nature of his friend because Epstein was only interested in Andrew's clout. So Andrew's the victim here, not Virginia Roberts Joffrey. As usual, the elite are the victims, and the rest of us are the actual problem. So basically, we have our very own Joffrey on our hands here, basically. Boy. Anyway, the article continues. Every example of anyone behaving like Epstein who has later been discovered has actually been very good at keeping their cover, said the source, or you guys have all been good covering for them. If you have someone like the Duke, you probably don't show that side of yourself to him. That's the sadness of being someone like the Duke. You sometimes don't see the real person because you are a bit of a trophy friend. Aw, poor Duke Andrew. His life is so rough. Everybody just wants to be his friend just because he's a trophy friend. It doesn't matter that he's, accused of molesting a young girl. Who cares? Woe is me. Ugh, disgusting. So the article continues. So if we take this source at his word, Andrew's presence at Epstein's now notorious Manhattan townhouse in 2010 was a last hurrah, or a way for Andrew to prove that he still has his manners. The Duke has been hammered for one mistake, which took place in 2010, said the insider. He has apologized again and again for the error of judgment. But what he did wasn't criminal, it was a mistake. He went to see a friend to tell them he couldn't be their friend anymore. I mean, big deal. I didn't know nothing, he knew nothing, they knew nothing, no one knew nothing, nobody knows anything. I'm just here to break up with my buddy. What? What planet are we living on where a grown man, a royal, flies across the pond to break up with a convicted child molester? Come on, man. Alright, the article continues. During the trip, the two were photographed walking in Central Park, and in the prince's defense, they do have glum looks on their faces. Really? Come on, Vanity Fair. But he also stayed in Epstein's home, and anyone who's ever said, we need to talk, knows that if you're breaking up with someone, you don't stay at their place. You find a hotel, you fake a stomachache, you get out of there as quickly as possible. Well, here's an idea. If that person is a, child molester and a sex trafficker, how about you just avoid being with them? I really don't think you fly across the Atlantic Ocean to break up with somebody, especially if you're the prince, you're a crown prince over in England. You can probably have one of your people do it, or a text message or an email probably will suffice, unless, of course, the person you're breaking up with has some dirt on you. Could that be possible? Could that be where we're going? Well, according to Miss Joffrey, that's exactly where we're at. So, all right. We'll finish with the article. It all raises the question, if the pair were breaking up in 2010, why didn't anyone mention that at the time? Andrew even gave up his job as a trade envoy over the controversy, but in a contemporaneous statement said he was dropping the title of special representative because it had, in quotes, served its purpose. In 2011, a source told Vanity Fair that Andrew and Epstein would no longer be photographed together, but stopped short of saying that the two were no longer friends. This is not the first time sources close to Andrew have come up with post hoc rationalizations for the more incriminating aspects of the prince's relationship with Epstein. In August, friends of his speculated that pictures showing Andrew and Joffrey together in 2001 must have been photoshopped because they don't feature his distinctive chubby fingers. And that is how the article ends. I mean, wow. Wow. So, basically what we have here is an inside source for the prince telling everybody that the whole reason he went to America to see Epstein after the fact that came to light that Epstein was a molester and an abuser was to break off their relationship. Oh my gosh. You can't come up with a better excuse than that. You don't have people that can come up with a better excuse than that. Who's in charge of your department on spin? I mean, because whoever that is, you need to fire him. Oh, wait. He might have just done that because in another report, the second report and last one we're going to talk about today, the two biggest pieces of news that have come out, is that the Duke of York hires new spin doctor as Channel 4 investigates links to convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. And this is in the Telegraph today. And both of these links from both of these articles will be in the description, so you guys can check the articles out for yourself and take a deeper look at them if you want. Read them again if you want to unpack some information a little deeper. But anyway, here's the article. It's by Camilla Tomini. She's an associate editor with the paper. And the article says, the Duke of York has hired a political spin doctor to help rebuild his reputation. As it emerged, Channel 4 is making a documentary about his friendship with the convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this is significant in my opinion. England is going pretty hard after Andrew in this case. The media is really rocking pretty hard on this, and I think a lot of that has to do with Jimmy Savile, however you pronounce his name, another high-profile sex abuser who was protected by the highest parts of people in the government of England for a very long time, and he abused children at hospitals and you name it. It's very disgusting what that man was up to. Anyway, back to the article. Amber Rudd's former special advisor, Jason Stein, will start working for Prince Andrew on Thursday as the palace braces itself for the hour-long expose due to be aired in a fortnight's time. The Duke has always denied any wrongdoing during his friendship with the billionaire financier, which began after the two met in 1999. He also claims never to have seen, witnessed, or suspected the behavior that led to Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting an underage girl for prostitution, for which he served 13 months in custody. So again, he saw nothing, he knows nothing. Why would you ask him these questions? How dare you? How dare you ask him these questions? Don't you know who he is? You plebes. Back to the article. Buckingham Palace has repeatedly denied that he had any form of sexual contact with one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Roberts, describing her claim to the contrary as false and without foundation. Epstein was found dead, at least I didn't say suicide, in his prison cell in August while awaiting trial on child sex trafficking charges. It is understood that Channel 4 Current Affairs team has contacted a number of former royal aides in a bid to investigate why the Duke stayed at Epstein's £45 million Manhattan mansion 4 months after his release in 2010. The Duke later admitted it was an error of judgment. Mr. Stein, who previously worked for Trade Secretary Liz Truss, accepted the role of Special Advisor for Communications 2 weeks ago after Ms. Rudd quit as Work and Pension Secretary last month over Boris Johnson's Brexit stance. The 28-year-old will report directly to the Duke's private secretary, Amanda Thirsk, rather than the Buckingham Palace press office. A royal source told the Daily Telegraph the Duke's office has got a huge volume of work to deliver, but a great deal of time is being taken up dealing with Epstein-related inquiries, which is where Jason will come in. All right, stop, pause. That's as spin like it's a top. What's really going on is they need to bring in a specialist to deal with this because the actual press office is not capable of dealing with a child sex molester, an alleged pedophile. They're not capable of dealing with that, so they brought in this specialist who deals in this sort of thing. So we'll go down in the article to the end here, and we don't know how many times we can say we have nothing to do with this. It follows reports that the Duke now accepts Epstein was an undercover pedophile similar to Jimmy Savile, who was very good at keeping his cover. No, you guys were good at keeping the cover for him. And you see how these articles all run concurrently, right? How they run together, how they basically give you the same exact message over and over and over and over again and pump it into your head. And in this instance, it's just it's worded a little differently, and they add a couple of little flavorful nuggets for you. Anyway, back to the article. It's almost at the weekend, friends insisted that he only visited Epstein in 2010 to tell him he couldn't be his friend anymore. At least 5 women who say they were abused by Epstein have filed lawsuits against his £458 million estate since his death. A spokesperson for Channel 4 confirmed the hour-long program was due to air on October 21st. All right. So, what we have here now is we have the articles reporting that the FBI has started to really investigate our buddy the Prince. That was a couple of weeks ago. So now, today, you have both of these articles dropping, the one in Vanity Fair, talking about how Prince Andrew was just breaking up with Epstein when he was here visiting him. And then the second one in the Telegraph talking about how he has hired a new spin doctor. So things are heating up in this regard. There's no doubt about it. There's definitely no doubt about it. The Prince is feeling the heat. The whole entire royal family is feeling the heat. And I'm very interested to see what Channel 4 does with this documentary on October 21st. So everybody who's interested in this show, make sure you mark your calendars. And after the show airs, after I can get a copy of it here in the United States, when I can access it and watch it, I'll break down the program on the podcast, and we'll talk about it like that. So anyway, like I was saying earlier, I'm really happy to have all of you guys here. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome aboard. You know, we're here. We're going to rock and roll on this whole entire investigation because, as you can see, it's starting to heat up. And I hope that it heats up for the people in the United States just as much. So we'll see what the news brings tomorrow. I'll be back with another drop. It'll be around the same time every night from here on out. And I hope that everybody had a great day today and they have a great night. And I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Remember, everybody, it starts with us. One at a time, one show at a time, one piece of information at a time. We're going to make media great again.